Hey everybody, this is Josh from Music Lesson here, coming back at you with another video. Just adjust this here real quick. We are going to talk today about beginner guitars and what will be or could be the best guitar for a beginner. There's a few things that you want to consider as if you're starting playing guitar, just started, never picked it up before in your life, but you want to play. All right, so what to look for? What's the best guitar for me? You know, there's a lot of questions like acoustic versus electric, so on and so forth. We're going to touch on every single one of those today, all right? Well, maybe not every single one, but as many as we can get to. All right, now I've got a handy-dandy list set to my side here, and I'm going to refer to that from time to time. So let's just start from the beginning. And we're going to tackle that question, acoustic versus electric. Should you buy an acoustic or should you buy an electric as a beginner? Well, there are a number of things to consider, okay? And first and foremost, and this is kind of an all-encompassing thing as well, what's your budget? You know, how much money do you have to spend? You're going to get, if you buy an acoustic, it is its own amplifier. So you don't have to buy an amplifier. If you buy an electric, you have to buy something to help amplify that. Otherwise, you won't be able to really hear the sound, because when you don't have an amplifier for an electric, can't hear it, right? You might be able to pick up a little bit of that through my microphone here, but it's not a whole lot. Now, do semi-hollows and hollow bodies project better? Yes, they do, absolutely, but you're still not going to get the best quality sound out of that. They're meant to be plugged in through amplifiers, okay? Now, conversely, when you plug it through an amplifier, you know, you're going to get, you're going to get something that's nice. You're going to get a good sound, you know what I mean? So, it's not very full, but it's, you're going to get that nice sound out of there. I had to switch to that full humbucker pickup to get that nice sound. You're going to get a sound out of the quality of the amplifier, right? Because it's an electric guitar, it can't amplify itself. So what are the things that undergird the decision behind an acoustic versus electric? Well, if you don't have the extra money to spend on an amplifier, probably not a good idea to get an electric, unless you think you're going to have that money relatively soon. Yeah, you can definitely practice on electric guitar, and I do from time to time without an amplifier, and you know, it's nice. We can talk more about choosing a guitar. Sometimes when you choose an electric guitar, it's good to play it unplugged first to hear its natural resonance, and if it projects really well when it's unplugged, I like that a lot in choosing an electric guitar. But it still is no substitute for an actual amplifier. I would choose an acoustic if you don't have the money to buy an amplifier, okay? We'll get into some more things about that in a second, about what type of acoustic. The other flip side of this argument is acoustics are higher string tension, so they'll produce more finger strength as a beginner, and that's what we want. We want more finger strength. That's true. There are some mitigating factors, though. For example, let's say you're starting later in life. Maybe your hands aren't quite what they used to be, or you're very young, and maybe your hands just aren't quite that strong. An acoustic guitar might have too much string tension, so you might want to get a guitar like an electric guitar or something like that has lighter string tension, because electric guitars naturally have less string tension on them than, oh, need to clean that, huh? Been playing this bad boy a lot lately. Naturally have less string tension than acoustic guitars do, just because the nature of the strings. The strings are thicker for the acoustic guitar, generally speaking. So keep that in mind. Really, to me, it boils down to cost. And there's a lot of great entry-level acoustics out there that can get you out the door and playing guitar relatively quickly. Now, if your goal is to be playing a specifically electric style genre, for example, heavy metal, you're going to want to save up the money to buy the guitar and the amplifier, because if that's your sole end goal, you may not be happy with that right off the bat. I personally think that you need to become a musician. In other words, you need to become a guitar player, not just a heavy metal guitar player. You want to be as versatile as possible. So I do think that starting on an acoustic or starting in other genres is definitely applicable and definitely even helpful, even if you're going to be a heavy metal guitar player. I believe, who is it, Zach Wilde, I think, plays classical guitar as well. So just something to consider. The next thing is, this is going to sound strange, but does it come with a case? Can you get a case? Listen, if you're going to get a guitar and you're going to go to lessons, or you're just going to keep it at home, please make sure you buy a case. Even if it's a soft case and it's super thin, buy yourself a case. A soft case, hard case. I prefer hard cases. You can see back here, that's my hard case for this Carvin that I love so much. Buy yourself a case of some kind, even if it's a soft case, because you're going to be taking it indoors, outdoors, whatever the circumstances are, whatever the environment is, it can hurt the guitar to be in the environment, to be in the elements, You know, let's say it rains. All of a sudden it rains, you're stuck outside. At least you've got a soft case layer of protection, okay, to make sure that the guitar is not getting totally swamped out, totally wet, you know, snowing, raining, cold, that type of thing. Got an extra layer of protection. I really like that personally. But that's just me. Hopefully you can use that to further your considerations. Tuning stability. Now, this is a big thing for me, too. If you look at this guitar, this has got a tremolo on it. It's not a Floyd Rose style locking tremolo, and it's not a locking nut either. If you are an absolute beginner, sorry about that, if you're an absolute beginner, this is okay. You're going to have to deal with some tuning stability issues down here at the bridge. This is a floating bridge. This is a Wilkinson. This floats, and what float means is it doesn't sit against the body of the guitar, okay? There are, for example, vintage tremolos, 6-point vintage tremolos. They sit flush on the body of the guitar. Those are okay because you can tighten the springs down in the back to make the tremolo sit a little bit more sturdy on the body, and that alleviates some of the tuning instability at the bridge level, okay? If you're just starting out, you're a brand new student, acoustic guitars have hardtails. In other words, the bridge doesn't move, okay? That's what I suggest most. Is a hardtail. There's electric guitars that have hardtails too. In other words, the bridge doesn't move, the strings stay put. There's no whammy bar. There's nothing like that to make the strings change pitch at the bridge. I prefer those for students that are just beginning because you don't have those tuning stability issues mostly, at least here. Okay, it makes it a lot easier for you to change strings, which is very important. Change strings and tune your guitar. And that's just really important as a beginner. You don't want that hassle. It's about how much do I have to maintain my guitar. So in that respect, I do not advise a beginner getting a Floyd Rose locking nut, locking bridge, you know, Eddie Van Halen style whammy bar bridge because it's way more difficult to maintain. If you've never picked up a guitar before, that's going to be very difficult to work on and change strings on. Okay, so that's just my suggestion. Save that for a little, you know, down the line when you can trade in your guitar and get something like that a little later on down the line when you know what you're doing a little bit better, have a more comprehensive understanding of the guitar itself. Okay. Playability, setup, fret access, so on and so forth. Let's talk about both of those. First of all, you want a guitar that has very low action. I say very low action. I usually tell my students that are just starting out, beginners, tell the guy that sets up or gal that sets up your guitar, I want low action, as low as you can get it without fret buzz. I don't want fret buzz, but I want the action low. Why? Because if the strings are 1.5 miles off the fingerboard, you can run a semi underneath them. That's going to be really hard on your hand, and even worse, when you fret the guitar, you're going to have to push the string down so far that it actually causes the note to raise in pitch higher than normal, okay? So that could give you intonation issues when you're playing guitar. And when it's all out of tune, even if the strings are in tune, you can still be playing out of tune if the strings are too high off the fingerboard, okay, for your string height, okay? You can see that right there. Now, everybody has their own preference, but as a beginner, I generally say as low as you can get it without fret buzz to a setup person. That works very well. Now, if you are wanting to play heavy metal or something that's very virtuosic in the future, a lot of times those people take advantage of 24 fret guitars, okay? 22 fret guitars. They're playing all the way up here and having lots of fun, okay? If you find that to be the case and you want to engage in that in the future, I would definitely suggest getting a guitar with 22 or 24 frets that you have good access up here for an electric guitar, okay? Acoustic guitars, you're not going to be doing as much of that, but you can get that single cutaway acoustic guitar to be able to get up here a little bit, just a little bit higher and facilitate that learning for you, okay? So think about what you want in that context and try to get something that will allow you to grow into that later on. Talk more about growability in a minute. Yeah, that's a real word. Maybe. Not sure. We'll find out later. Anyway, okay. What will you be playing? What genre? This kind of goes hand in hand, and it goes into growability here. You know, if you're going to be playing country, you know, you're probably going to be doing stuff right around here, all the way through the neck. You know, you might even get a little bit up higher, but 21 frets is usually good enough for country. 22 frets is more than enough for country. Growability. Again, if I'm going to be playing, if I want to play Steve Vai eventually, now granted that's way down the line if you're a beginner, but perhaps you can get a guitar that will be ready for that when you get to that point. And that's kind of like a 22, 24 fret guitar with good fret access. Okay. We already talked about cost, but cost is going to be a big thing. don't supersede your budget because you're going to need to buy tuners, you're going to need to buy strings, you're going to need to buy other things. Find something that fits your budget. If you got to go used, find a good used instrument that plays well, you can get good action on it. If you're a right-handed player, those are everywhere. If you're a left-handed player, like myself, sometimes we're out of luck. Sometimes we can find what we need. But yeah, definitely find something that fits within your budget. Try not to go past your budget. I tell people this all the time. There's a lot of great guitars to be had out there within your price range. Stay there because you don't want to buy an expensive guitar and next month be out rent because you bought this expensive guitar. Find something that's within your means, even if it's not the greatest guitar in the world, but you're a beginner, so you're going to grow. Don't worry about that. You can get a really nice guitar later on once your skills get a little bit more progressed, okay? So buy something that's within your price range. Likewise, if you're going to get an electric guitar, make sure you've got money to buy the amplifier to go with it, okay? So make sure that's key, all right? Let's see. And I just mentioned it, electric guitars require amplifiers, okay? So make sure that you have planned ahead for that. And if you're looking at amplifiers for electric guitars, find something that's very versatile because you're going to be doing a lot of different genres as you learn how to play. Unless you specifically know, I'm playing country, I'm playing heavy metal, I'm not really doing anything else. But even then, you still need to have at least a good clean sound and a good distortion sound and then a good metal sound. So really, you need 3 good presets if you're going to do that. That can jump into the more of the conversation of pedals and so on and so forth. But I find a good practice amp. I could name some names, but I won't right now. If you'd like to know, ask in the comments, and I'll give you some suggestions. You know, good overall around practice amps with their modeling amps, solid state modeling amps are really nice, really useful because they can get you where you want to be and give you a lot of variety for very little cash on the table. All right. So think about that. Those are some things to just consider. If I've missed anything, let me know. Tell me what you think. You might be in need as well for when you're considering buying a beginner guitar. Picks are a big thing too. I suggest to start off with medium picks if you're going to be a beginner. You know, something not too heavy, not too light, so that you can decide, get it and grow into it, decide what's good for you. Fingerstyle, you can start with fingerstyle. I usually suggest to my students to start with a pick because fingerstyle can naturally progress from there. Is the same with hybrid picking and so on and so forth. And that's going to kind of be bleeding into a separate video now, so we'll leave that alone as it is. But hopefully this helped you out. Hopefully it give you some tips and thoughts that you can use, how to buy your first guitar, how to buy a beginner guitar. And remember, practice is key. Practice is the big thing. We always have to practice, but in addition to that, having good gear that facilitates our needs helps as well. Remember that music is magic, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.